What's up, everybody? I'm gonna change my audio here. Oops. All right. Make sure my audio is working. Hang tight here. You guys hear me? If you guys are here and in the chat, give me a thumbs up or let me know if you can hear me and see me. Everything good? Can you hear me? Jackie, what's up? What's up, everybody? Please let me know in the chat if you can hear me. All right, cool. Okay, we'll get started in just give me about a minute. I'm just going to let people know that I'm doing this because it is very, very last minute. But there's a lot we got to talk about. And so I just decided to jump on here real quick and kind of rant a little bit. We're going to go for about 30, 40 minutes maybe. But it's really important to talk about this, I think, because there's a lot of propaganda. There's a lot of, misinformation regarding this peace deal. And the first thing you have to understand, as always, you have to understand the history of this conflict to fully understand what's going on with this peace deal. And the reality is it's not really a peace deal. It's a ceasefire. They're calling it a peace deal, but at the end of the day, it's like phase one of 2 or 3 different phases. Most people don't understand this. But I wanted to make sure I clarified that. But let me just get this posted really quick. Hold up one sec, guys. Oops. All right, there we go. Hang tight. Guys, make sure that if you haven't yet, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. And let's get going. Okay, so first of all, I pulled up all of the different pieces of this. I basically did the research to figure out what exactly does this deal say. Okay, so again, this is phase 1 of what they're calling 3 phases when it comes to this deal. Okay. So I'm just going to go through it. I'm going to read you guys what it says. Okay. Israel. So what's in the deal? Phase 1, Israel's cabinet approved the first phase of the U.S. brokered ceasefire with Hamas. Under the deal, all military operations, airstrikes, bombardment are to be suspended and battle lines frozen. A prisoner hostage exchange. Hamas will release remaining living Israeli hostages. That's going to be important in a minute. In return for thousands of Palestinian prisoners and detainees held by Israel. I think it's really interesting that we're constantly talking about the hostages, and don't get me wrong, it's important that they come home, and I'm glad that they have, the ones that have. But no one's talking about the fact that the Israelis have been holding thousands of Palestinians. It's crazy. But anyway, Israel will begin withdrawing troops to a line where it retains control over 53% of Gaza in its initial step. Increased humanitarian aid into Gaza, aid crossings, reconstruction materials, infrastructure repair are supposed to be allowed. An international stabilization force, ISF, is to be deployed in Gaza, not necessarily to fight, to help maintain order and security during transition. Governance, a technocratic, apolitical Palestinian committee under international oversight is proposed to run Gaza temporarily. Former British PM Tony Blair is named as part of the international board. So let me go to, let me just find this next piece here. Okay. I believe this is it here. Okay. So the main pieces of this deal are that the bombardment and the attacks are going to stop. And then the other piece is that the living hostages will be released back in, will be given back to the Israelis. Okay. So as you might have already known, or might have already guessed, that ceasefire has already, or that peace deal, that ceasefire, whatever you want to call it, it's already been broken. Okay. Israel has already bombed and killed five more Palestinian civilians. And even though Hamas gave back the living hostages, now Netanyahu and the Israeli government are demanding the dead hostages, the bodies of the dead hostages as well. Now, what's interesting about this is that's impossible. Like, most of those bodies aren't even recoverable. And they know this. They know that that is not a possibility. They know that there is zero chance that Hamas is going to be able to return every single body. And this is a strategic thing. This is what has happened all throughout history. And this is the main reason why people like me are not, quote unquote, celebrating this. It's not a matter, I've seen people saying like, oh, it's selective activism and, it's selective outrage over certain things. No. Maybe for some. Okay, I will give you that there are people out there that just want to be angry about something and they kind of move, where they're activist chameleons or outrage chameleons, right? I will give you that. There are people like that. And they kind of move from one issue to the next, depending on whatever's popular and whatever's going to make them, able to virtue signal the best. They do exist. However, people like me, the ones that understand the history of this conflict, we are not just moving from one place to the other as outrage chameleons or activist chameleons. Like, the reason why we're not celebrating is because every single time a ceasefire or a peace deal has been struck between these two countries, it has been broken and it has not lasted. No matter what people want to say, no matter what your favorite influencer wants to tell you, which, by the way, most of these influencers that are speaking on behalf of Israel and they're the pro-Israel, pro-Zionist stance, and they're like, oh, all these free Palestine people no longer, so like, where are they? Why aren't they celebrating? But most of these influencers, these talking heads, are morons. And the reason why is because they literally think that this conflict started on October 7th. And anytime you are listening to someone, I said this in my Instagram story today, anytime you are listening to somebody, an influencer, anybody in general, that believes that the conflict started October 7th, you should immediately tune that person out, because they are not qualified to speak on this conflict. They're not qualified to speak on this subject, quite frankly. Because if you believe that this started October 7th, then you do not understand what's going on. And it's easy to then say, oh, well, yeah, the 2-year war. No. This is not a 2-year war, guys. This is a century-long war. This has been going on for forever, since the early 1900s, since World War I. Okay? And it's crazy to me that people are listening to these idiotic influencers that act like they're the authority on this subject when they know nothing about the actual conflict. They know nothing about the history of the conflict. And the reality is that every single time throughout history, when there has been a ceasefire or a peace deal, like I said, it has been broken. Eventually, it has been broken, and all of the negotiations have fallen through. Now, this is largely because of the fact that these countries have been at war with each other, again, for decades, for almost 100 years, if not 100 years at this point. And even more so, okay, look, while both sides are guilty of breaking ceasefires throughout history, both sides are guilty of not holding up their end of the bargain when it comes to these peace deals. Israel, okay, specifically, has broken far more ceasefires and not upheld their end of the deal far more times than Palestine has. That's just a reality. Than Hamas or whatever. That is an absolute reality. You can look it up. You can freaking just do a deep dive and look up every single ceasefire and every single peace deal that has been struck and who is the one that has broken it every single time. Not every single time, but who, like, look up who broke it, and you will see that the majority of the time, the ceasefires and the peace deals have been broken by Israel. It just has. I actually wrote down a few of them just so I could make sure that I had it correct. So I'm gonna just explain some of this to you. So, like the Oslo Peace Accords, for example, 1993. Okay, the Oslo Peace Accords ended up not being peace accords; it ended up being an annexation because the settlers never stopped. So even though this peace deal was struck, the Israeli settlers never stopped. They actually continued to settle. And they not only continued to settle, but over the last, up until about 2016, 2017, from 1993, they tripled the amount of settlements in Gaza, in Palestine. Okay? They tripled them. Here's some numbers for you. 28,000 homes were demolished by Israel. 28,000 Palestinian homes were demolished. And then settlers came in and settled on their land between 1993 and 2016-ish. Okay. This is what we're talking about when we talk about the ethnic cleansing of these people. That is absolutely what is happening and what has happened. And it goes on. There's more and more situations. For example, 2005 ceasefire, right? Everybody, or not everybody, but pro-Israel and pro-Zionist, the people on the pro-Israel, pro-Zionist side will say that, well, Israel withdrew in 2005. It's true that they withdrew their troops, okay, or excuse me, their settlers, but they did not withdraw the troops. So they just, all they did was tighten their hold on the Gaza Strip. All they did was just tighten the occupation. And so they'll use that as a talking point to say, well, we backed off and we gave the Palestinians a chance to have their own place and be able to build their own community, and they could have been thriving and blah, blah, blah. And that's where it always comes back to, but they chose to put Hamas into power, right? And listen, I'm not naive enough to believe that there's a good guy and a bad guy in this conflict. The only good people are the civilians that are caught in the crossfire. But you do have to understand something, okay? If you are a captive people who have been occupied by another nation, you have no control over land, sea, or air. None whatsoever. You basically cannot go to or from, okay? You are completely occupied. And someone steps in and says, and they're the only ones that seem to be fighting for you. Even though you may not agree with everything they're doing, and even though they may be extreme, very extreme, right? What option do you have? What are you going to do? You're going to go with the people that are fighting for you. Just plain and simple. That's how it goes. That is the history, if you actually trace it back to how Hamas was formed and how Hamas rose up into power. And the other interesting thing about it, too, is that I forget what year it was, but for the longest time, the U.S. military itself recognized Hamas as not a terrorist group, but as a nationalistic group, a nationalist group, right? Much more of a religious nationalist group. And you can look this up too. And they even, high-ranking officials from the military, from the U.S. military, even warned that if we continued to push the way we were and continued to support Israel the way we were, that we would eventually push Hamas into a terroristic group to make them basically become terrorists. That we would push them to extremism. And sure enough, we did. And it's just it's wild to me to watch people talk about this conflict and not understand the nuance of every single time there has been an attempt to create a peace deal, right? To create a ceasefire. Another one, I wrote down another one, 2008 ceasefire from June to November. Okay, there was from June to November, there was a ceasefire. And then sure enough, Israel broke that ceasefire. Israel broke it. Okay? And these are just like, there's so many different examples. I have them all written down. I'm not even going to go through them because I don't have time. But just go look them up, guys. Anytime that the news or that the media started talking about what they call a peaceful calm or a lull in the violence, what they're referring to is during these times of ceasefire or whatever. But the thing they're not also talking about is the fact that during these peaceful calms or lulls in the violence, the occupation was still going on. Okay, so even though rockets weren't being shot from Palestine into Israel, right? The Palestinian people were still under occupation. And there was still violence going on between Israel and Palestine. There was still violence going on between the settlers and the Palestinians. That never stopped. It just continues. The only thing that stops is the actual militant violence between the two countries for a short time. Okay? But never forever. It always continues again. This is really important to understand because this is why people like me are not celebrating this ceasefire and this peace deal. And like I said, sure enough, just like we knew it would happen, it's already been broken. Okay? It's already been broken. Like I said, there's already been bombs dropped. I'm actually going to pull this up really quick. Let me just pull this up. I'm going to give you the exact facts. Okay, so despite the tenuous ceasefire, which was still in place, Israeli drone fire killed 6 people as they were checking on houses in a suburb east of Gaza City. Okay, and another separate airstrike killed another 3 civilians. Let's see what else we got here. Let's pull this up. And by the way, just so that for everybody that in there that's saying, "Oh, well, how do you prove this? Like, what is the news?" I'll link it later. But even the defense minister of Israel, Israel Katz, this is an exact tweet from him. The urgent mission to which we are all committed now is to ensure the return of the abducted bodies. So remember what I was talking about in the beginning of this, about how they are creating an impossibility for this peace deal. So the deal was not that the bodies would be returned, the dead bodies. The deal was that the live hostages would be returned, and they have been. But now you have the defense minister saying the abducted bodies, all of them, must be brought home. He continues, Hamas' announcement about the expected return of 4 bodies today is a failure to meet those commitments. Any delay or deliberate avoidance will be considered a gross violation of the agreement and will be responded to accordingly. What do you think that means? What do you think that means? It's pretty self-explanatory. Okay? In addition to that, Israel plans to halt the number of aid trucks into Gaza and limit distribution of assistance. So another piece of that, part of that peace deal was that aid needed to be let in, right? Sure enough, here's Israel saying, we're going to halt that aid. They blame Hamas for violating the ceasefire agreement with slow return of dead hostages. So they have created this impossibility, okay? We won't do any of the things that we agreed to until this impossible task is accomplished by Hamas, right? They can't return all the dead bodies. They're probably not even there. So many of them are probably like buried. There's no way that this can be a possibility. And they know this. And this is something that has happened throughout all of the conflict. Okay? Throughout all of the conflict. I just got a text. I'm not going to tell you who this text is from, but I will just tell you this guy is extremely connected. Israeli peace deal, my ass. There was mortar fire today between Hamas and Israel in Gaza. I was in Gaza with UG Solutions in January. My buddy is there now. This is a video. I can't really show it to you guys. You can't really see it, but that is I can't play the video, but that's a video from literally today. Okay, so also for everybody that's saying, "Well, you're not there. How do you know what's going on?" I got people that are there. Okay? So just, you can believe that if you want, or if you don't want to, whatever. But the fact is, this peace deal, this ceasefire, okay, it's bullcrap. There's nothing happening. And I even said today on my Instagram story that they're calling Trump the peacemaker. They're calling him the peace president. You know who else they called the peacemaker? Bush. And I proved that. I showed all the news articles. They literally called him the peacemaker. And then look what happened. We got pulled into a 20-year war in the Middle East. Why? Because Muslims attacked us. So look, You just have to understand. You're not going to be able to see that. But anyway, more bombs being dropped. That's what that is. You just have to understand, though, that there is so much more to this than your favorite influencer is saying. And the reality is, we are not celebrating it yet because, quite frankly, many of us, as optimistic as we want to be, and as much as we hope and wish and pray that this would be a real thing, it has never held up in the past. Never. And so we don't, like, I don't personally believe that it's going to this time. I just don't. Call me a skeptic, whatever, but it's just a reality. I don't believe it's going to hold up this time. What's also something that's also really important to understand is there's basically, people have been operating, excuse me, just dropped my mic. People have been operating in Israel off of a certain philosophy, and it's called the Moshe Dayan philosophy. Okay. Moshe Dayan was, I want to say he was the defense minister in 67. I might be wrong. That might be completely off. I'm terrible with names and dates, but let's just say that I think that's what it was. Either way, he was a very prominent figure in the Israeli government. Okay. And it was 67, because the whole theory, the whole philosophy is that Israel will never go back to the 67 borders, that Israel will never give up that territory, that it will always be the goal of Israel to create greater Israel and to basically deny any existence of a Palestinian state. Okay. And you hear this if you go listen to the secret recording between Bibi Netanyahu and some random Israeli settlers, right? They caught him on video, on camera, literally saying this, literally saying that not only was that going to be the goal, but that in order to make that possible, it was going to be done by creating conflict in the area. Because as long as there's conflict, as long as they can continue to say that Israel is under attack and that Israel is in danger, right? As long as they can continue to say that, then they can continue to justify the occupation. They can continue to justify the settlements or hide the settlements. They can continue to justify the bombardment. They can continue to justify the attack. And that has been the game plan since day one, to the point where anybody that's been following this conflict also knows that Bibi Netanyahu himself funded Hamas through Qatar in order to control the height of the flame. Okay, he purposely funded this group so that it would create the conflict between the two. And he thought he could control both sides. At least that's what he said. Sure enough, that's what led to October 7th. Now, whether or not he created that, or whether or not it just happened because he's a moron and thought he could handle something that clearly he couldn't, and then he capitalized on it, either way, this is what truly happened. Okay. Let's see. Heather, locals in occupied Palestine have a different opinion of this peace deal and, in fact, are actively trying to call out that this is smoke and mirrors. I'm going to put that up on here because that is the reality. That's what's going on. That is the truth. It is smoke and mirrors. It is literally just smoke and mirrors. As a matter of fact, I saw a video that I want to show you guys that I think is like really on point. Listen to this video right here. I'm going to add this to the stage. You guys can watch it.
Fire is not a peace deal. It's the next logical step to a real estate deal.
The Riviera of the Middle East.
It's a one-sided land grab that is currently being presented as a peace treaty. Do you think that AIPAC and all the pro-Israel Trump donors like Miriam Adelson are that excited because of peace? They don't believe in peace. They're invested in Raytheon and Lockheed Martin. The bottom line is they believe that it's their land. The peace deal is a marketing campaign pushed by the fake news media and the bought-off influencers that are still playing right versus left. Let's not be fooled. The people that supported Gaza, they didn't care about taking political sides. They cared about ending a genocide that was supported by the US. But here's the thing. Even if this war, by all metrics, was horrible, our voices were crucial. Because if there was no pushback, no protests, then these demons could get away with much worse. Just like COVID, if we didn't push back, we would still be wearing masks under curfew. So we got to keep fighting all the time.
It starts with one thing. I don't know why. It doesn't even matter how hard you try. Keep that in mind. I designed this product to.
All right. I love that video because it's right. He nailed it. He hit the nail on the head. That is exactly what is going on right now. This is smoke and mirrors, and this is not a peace deal. This is just laying the groundwork for literally what they want to do, and with building a freaking tourist destination in Gaza. Guys, this is a real thing, by the way. For anybody that doesn't believe me in this, go look it up. Go look it up. Look up the fact that they have been planning to build a luxury tourist destination in Gaza. And by the way, how do you do that? How do you build a luxury tourist destination on top of millions of people's homes? Well, you'd have to get rid of those homes first, right? Let me read you guys an interesting statistic. If I can find it. Let me make sure I can find this. Hang on. Bear with me here. Actually, it might be on my phone. I think it's on my phone. Hang on a second. Okay. All right. So since, oh wait, no, that's not the one. Sorry, one second. Hang on a second. Here we go. Now we got it. Okay. So listen to this, guys. 200, the equivalent, okay? This is insane. The equivalent of 13 Hiroshimas has been dropped in bombs on Gaza by the Israeli government. The equivalent of 13 Hiroshimas. Okay, if you go look at videos of this place, I don't need to show you. I'm sure all of you guys have seen it. It's a freaking ashtray. There's nothing left. Nothing. So how else would you build a luxury tourist destination on top of that, on top of all those people's homes? Well, you demolish them. You get rid of them. And, you know, I'm not here to say that's exactly what's happening, but like, sure seems like it. Sure makes a lot of sense that it would be a massive land grab. No? Am I crazy? And by the way, by this happening, what does this do for America? You know, all your favorite fake ass America First influencers out there that want to say that being America First is supporting Israel and supporting their genocide and supporting what they're doing. Forget the fact that it takes all of our tax dollars to make it happen. Forget the fact that it's absolutely not America First, because clearly we're putting that country in front of America when we decide to do that, right? Forget all that. Let's just consider the fact that look at the target that it puts on our back as Americans when the whole world is looking at the only country that seems to be supporting these people bipartisanly, right? Unequivocally. You have Trump literally saying that we gave them the best weapons and that they used them well in this last press conference. I think I saved this video. Let me see if I have it here. Let me just see if this is the right one. Hang on a second here. I don't think that's the right one. I'm just gonna tell you guys. If you can go look it up. If you literally just like search it in X or search it in Instagram, it'll come up. Just type in Trump Israel weapons and it'll come up. I guarantee you. It's his most recent press conference when he went there just a couple days ago. And basically what he said was, we gave him all these amazing weapons, and Netanyahu was asking me for weapons I didn't even know the name of, and we made it happen, and he used them well. When you have the world looking at the president of the United States saying that to the leader of a country that is clearly committed a genocide and is ethnically cleansing an entire people based on every other person but that government and our government's opinion, right? Because that's the reality. There's no one else. Like, we are the only ones saying that there was no genocide. Everyone else has admitted and has recognized that there is an absolute genocide, that there has been a genocide. So besides our opinions, right, the rest of the world is looking at us like, oh, they're the ones that are supporting this. And what do you guys think is happening with these Arab nations that are being bombed by Israel? You think they're thinking that Israel's the only one that's doing it? No. They're saying, oh, those assholes gave them the bombs. It's literally painting a target on our back that is so massive and creates so many issues for us as a nation. This is what creates terrorism. This is what makes it so that people want to, quote unquote, wipe America off the map. Right? This is it. And that's America first? Explain it to me like I'm 5 how that's America first, please. I'm begging you. I'm begging you to explain it. Someone explain that. I'll wait. I don't think anybody really can. Actually, I'm pretty positive nobody can. But let's move on. In that video, he mentioned somebody. He mentioned Miriam Adelson. I think that's how you say it. She is one of the biggest donors of President Trump. She donated, I think, $1 million to his campaign. Let's see who this person is. Let's just watch this video real quick. I think this is the one. Let's just make sure.
Miriam, stand up, please. She really is. I mean, she loves this country.
Hey, by the way, do you guys see an American flag behind him? No? Just checking. Just checking.
She loves this country. Her and her husband are so incredible. We miss him so dearly. But I actually asked her, I'm going to get her in trouble with this, but I actually asked her once, I said, so Miriam, I know you love Israel. What do you love more, the United States or Israel? She refused to answer. That might mean Israel, I must say.
Interesting. So he asks her point blank, right in front of everybody, which country do you love the most? She refuses to answer. Oh, that must mean Israel. And he just laughs it off. What are we doing here, guys? What are we doing? Let me show you a couple other clips that I found really interesting from this same president.
My dear, Mr. President, why don't you give him a pardon? Give him a pardon. Come on. By the way, that was not in the speech, as you probably know. But I happen to like this gentleman right over here, and it just seems to make so much sense. You know, whether we like it or not, this has been one of the greatest wartime presidents. This has been one of the greatest wartime presidents. And cigars and champagne, who the hell cares about that?
So for those of you that may not have caught that reference when he says cigars and champagne, Bibi Netanyahu is being has been for the, I don't even know for how long. I think it's like gone on for a year or two now, that he is being accused internationally of taking bribes from high-level politicians, high-level world leaders, and people in the United States of America, specifically cigars and champagne. If you haven't seen the Bibi Files yet, go watch that. But that's basically what he's talking about. But clearly, there's more to what Bibi has actually done. Okay. Now, let me just ask you. Let me just ask you guys something. Okay. Why do you need a pardon? It's really simple. What do you need a pardon for? Why do you need to be pardoned? It's usually because you've committed a crime, right? We went over this with Biden. We went over this with his sweeping pardons of all those people, of Hunter and freaking Fauci and all these people, right? We talked about this. We shouted it from the rooftops. Why do people like that need pardons? Well, because they've committed a crime. What's really funny to me is you have these same influencers that shouted from the rooftops and were freaking out and losing their minds over those sweeping pardons that Biden gave out. And now you have Trump asking for a pardon for Bibi Netanyahu, who has clearly committed the most atrocious war crimes in modern history. And to the point where 49 countries walk out of the UN Assembly when he gets up to speak. Okay? The largest walkout in modern history. Where are they? Why are they so silent now? What's going on? Here's my question to you, though. Okay, I'm gonna give you guys. I'm gonna give you you people that like give Trump the benefit of the doubt. I'm gonna give you the floor for a minute. I want you to tell me, if you're one of those people, how in the world what he just did was actually meant to expose Bibi, because that's the argument that I've heard multiple times, that by him saying give him a pardon, he's just exposing Bibi. Yet then he goes on to say that he's the greatest wartime president. You know, I'm open to hearing it, but so far I haven't heard a good argument with that one. So far, it's just sounded like a lot of smoke and mirrors. To me, it sounds like this dude is literally compromised and has been for a very long time. Right? I can't see it any other way, guys. I really can't. I don't know how anybody can. I truthfully don't know how anybody can see it any other way. But please, if you know, explain it to me. I would love to hear it. Put it in the chat. In the meantime, let's watch this last video.
Just a few of the reasons why I'm proud to be the best friend that Israel has ever had, and they all say it in the White House. They all say it. I guess it's true because everybody says it, baby. You said it today. Thank you. But as president, I terminated the disastrous Iran nuclear deal, and ultimately I terminated Iran's nuclear program with things called B-2 bombers. It was swift, and it was accurate, and it was a military beauty. I authorized the spending of billions of dollars, which went to Israel's defense, as you know. And after years of broken promises from many other American presidents, you know that, they kept promising. I never understood it until I got there. There was a lot of pressure put on these presidents. It was put on me too, but I didn't yield to the pressure. But every president for decades said, we're going to do it. The difference is I kept my promise and officially recognized the capital of Israel and moved the American embassy to Jerusalem.
I don't know about you guys, but that does not sound like somebody who's playing 5D chess. It just sounds like somebody who is clearly in bed with this country. And, you know, I don't know how many more things need to happen in America to prove that that's what's going on. You have sweeping censorship. You have them buying up our media, buying up our news, buying up, like, guys, Newsmax has literally done an Israel moment or an Israel update like twice a week now for a few weeks straight after they announced that they were launching their massive Hasbara campaign, after they bought YouTube and bought Google and bought VPNs and bought AI and bought our influencers and bought it's so blatantly obvious that I don't know how anybody doesn't see this. I don't know how anybody doesn't see what's going on. I really don't understand it. Someone explain it to me like I'm 5, please. I'm open to hearing an argument, a counter argument, but I just don't, I don't know how you can make one. There's so many things that have happened in this country that, just like this person said in the chat, it's freaking MIGA, not MAGA, right? Like, what's going on? Why are we, and on top of that, why are we still sending aid and money over there if there's a peace deal, right? If there's no more war, why are we still sending them money? Why do people in Israel still get free healthcare while we don't? Can anybody answer these questions? Right? And then I got the people that, oh, well, you're just being anti-Semitic. No, I'm not. No, I'm just calling it out like I see it. And I would be doing it if it was freaking Africa. I would be doing it if it was Ukraine, which I did when it was Ukraine, right? I'm sick of my tax dollars going to another country. Sick and tired of it. Right? Yeah, there you go. Bibi droning on for 30 years about Iran developing nuclear weapons. Of course. Yeah, of course. It's the big bad boogeyman of terrorism, right? And I'm a terrorist sympathizer. No, I'm not. I just recognize what the true threat is. And the true threat has its freaking fingers in every single piece of our country. You don't buy the media and buy influencers and create this massive propaganda campaign if you're not trying to hide something. Or if you're not trying to change public opinion about something that would typically or normally be a negative opinion. It's just, for me, it's just common sense. But like everything else in the world, common sense has just gone completely out the window for most people. And what's so frustrating is you have the same influencers that were so on point during COVID, that could see through all the propaganda, that could see through all the lies and all the bullcrap. They were censored, they were canceled, blah, 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 blah. And now you have them shilling for this country. Why? I'll tell you why. Loyalism. Loyalism over patriotism. You now have the party that has been fractured. And I'm speaking specifically of the right-wing party. And by the way, I'm not a Republican. I'm not a conservative. I've never been any of those things because I've always withheld the stance that both parties are the problem. I am an independent constitutionalist. Okay. But the fact is the right-wing party is absolutely splintering. It's for sure splitting in half. You have one side that are patriots and you have one side that are loyalists. That no matter what the president says, no matter what the admin says, no matter what policy doesn't go through, no matter what things that they voted on don't happen, they continue to toe the line. They continue to justify it. The Epstein files, we still don't have them. It's okay. Let's primary the only guy that's actually trying to get him out, Massey. And then let's support the president as he tries to primary this dude. Right? You have people like Tucker and Candace Owens and Marjorie Taylor Greene that are now being attacked by all these same right-wing idiots that were so awake during COVID when it was the Democrat in power. But now that it's their freaking white knight, now that it's their God Trump, they're just toeing the line. It's loyalists versus patriots, period. End of story. And it's really easy to spot the patriots versus the loyalists. It's the ones that actually care about America first. It's the ones that actually care that our needs come before others. It's the ones that actually care that we take care of our own. That's it. But I digress. Let's move on. So I told you guys that there's a plan, and this is why I believe that this whole ceasefire, freaking peace deal, et cetera, is not actually going to stand. And the reason why is because I don't even believe that's what it is. It's laying the groundwork for something far worse. And I said that there are plans to build a luxury tourist destination in Gaza. And I know that there's people that are saying, yeah, right, there's no way. Well, let me just read it to you, okay? So multiple overlapping proposals have emerged, often under names of Gaza Riviera, Trump Riviera, or via a trust called Great Trust, Gaza Reconstitution, Economic Acceleration, and Transformation Trust. Key elements include luxury resorts and waterfront development. A chunk of Gaza's western coastline would be developed for high-end resorts, hotels, possibly artificial islands, modeled after places like Dubai for tourism. The idea is to leverage seaside appeal, beaches, marine tourism, etc. Smart cities. Where have we also heard about land just being completely leveled and completely destroyed in order to make way for smart cities? Several planned new cities. AI powered up to 20 stories, mixing residential, commercial, light industry, and infrastructure such as hospitals, schools, etc. Green areas, interspersed parks, farmland, golf courses. Relocation and property tokenization. Part of many proposals involves giving Gazans digital tokens in exchange for rights to rebuild and claim property, or possibly to relocate. That's so nice. So all the people that we destroyed their homes, killed their literally like obliterated some of these people's bloodlines, we're going to give them tokens, guys. We're going to give them tokens so that they can potentially rebuild their lives, or they can be completely relocated. Sick. There are cash incentives, rent, food subsidies, etc., for those who choose or are expected to leave during reconstruction or permanently. What does that sound like to you guys? Cash incentives, rent, and food subsidies. What does that sound like to you guys? What does that sound like to you guys? Who do you think is going to give them those things? What does this sound like? What kind of economic structure does this sound like? Governance and oversight. Proposals often include international trusteeship or oversight. Some versions include current governance by Hamas. Others suggest nonpartisan or technocratic transitional authorities. Interesting. So part of the plan is to allow Hamas to continue to govern in certain places. Wait a second. But I thought the whole purpose was to destroy Hamas. I thought the whole purpose was to completely obliterate Hamas. And that's why they were just destroying schools and churches and gunning down civilians that are being held as human shields. I thought that was the whole plan. Secure zones or safe zones as part of some plans, both during reconstruction and as part of attracting investment. So we're going to make sure those zones are safe so we can get those investors to come in and pony up the dough. Right? Okay, it continues. Financing and land use. Oop. Hang on a second. Sorry, I'm getting a call, guys. Financing and land use. Ooh, come on, open up. Okay. Financing and land use. Use of public land in Gaza leased for long periods, up to 99 years, as assets or capital for the reconstruction or investment trust. Private and public sector investment is expected. Sometimes proposals assume self-generating revenue from real estate, tourism, industry. Alternative counter proposals. These are some counter proposals, guys. Arab countries, especially Egypt, have proposed a reconstruction plan that does not displace Palestinians. These focus more on restoring housing, infrastructure, letting people stay rather than replacing the population or expropriating land for luxury projects only. Some of these alternative plans are being pitched as counterpoints to the Riviera vision. So that's a good thing. There's plans that are being proposed as a counter proposal. Who are those counter proposals? Or who's proposing those counter proposals? Well, of course, Egypt and the other countries, not the United States, not Israel. The far-right government of Israel and the United States, they're proposing that we just, create Gaza utopia. Guys, it sounds like a movie. It literally sounds like a movie. It's insane. It's insane to me. Imagine building luxury tourist hotels and smart cities and tourist attractions on top of the bodies of hundreds of thousands of human beings that only existed where they existed, and that's why they were murdered. That's why they were killed. They were killed because of who they were and where they lived. Imagine one day seeing a hotel built on the bodies of those people. Number one, that's some seriously bad juju. But number two, how insane is that? How insane is this idea? And this is real. This is a real plan. This is what's actually going on. But in order to do this, you have to have a ceasefire. You have to have the peace deal. Now, here's the thing that's just it's insane to me. My buddy Ian Carroll actually spoke about this earlier, guys. If you guys didn't watch his video, I would highly suggest you do. But he basically said, like, if this is a real thing and if it does hold, we'll be happy that like no more people are going to be murdered. We'll be happy that no more of these civilians are going to be killed. And we'll be happy that the people in Israel, the innocent civilians in Israel, no longer have to worry about this. Because no innocent human being should have to live their life in fear of being bombed or being shot or being killed. And that's what these people on both sides, the innocent civilians on both sides, that's what these people live through. That is their life. I saw a video today of one of these people going back to their home. It's on my Instagram story. You should go watch it. And it said, just got home. Now I'm starting to clean or something like that. His entire home, it's like a high-rise building. And this is must be like what used to be the living room. Walls are completely blown apart. You can see out into like the streets, and he's sweeping. He's basically just sweeping up rubble. There's nothing left. There's no furniture. There's no nothing. It's just hard tile floor, and pieces of walls, pieces of structure. That's what these people are going home to. No human being deserves that. No human being. And that's what's going on. And so to echo Ian, yeah. If this is real, a lot of us will be happy about it. We'll be stoked that no more people have to die and this suffering can end. But like, what was the cost? And in reality, what's done has been done. The settlers have already settled. The lives have already been taken. The bloodlines have already been wiped out. Gaza has already been literally reduced to ash. The people have already been starved and occupied and completely broken down. And we've supported it all the way. As a country, we watched it happen and we supported it. So yeah, it'll be good if this is the real thing, but at what cost? And what Ian said was really important. He said, it's like the people that are truly in power. And we're talking about the bankers. We're talking about the politicians, the elites. We're talking about the ones that are truly pulling the strings of all of this, okay? Because we're all just pawns. The United States, Israel, it's all just pawns. The bankers and the elites and the ones that are truly pulling the strings. He says, it's almost like every single time this stuff happens, it's like they give us the absolute worst scenario to accept in order to have something good come from it. Right? War after war after war. Millions of deaths. Complete destruction of people. For what? I will tell you this, and I'll end this stream on this. And by the way, thank you so much for being here, guys. I appreciate every single one of you. I appreciate all the love you guys have been giving me. Please subscribe to my channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe, and I have some cool podcasts coming out because I got some cool guests coming in that you guys are really going to like. And if you're not following me on Instagram and X, please go do that. It's just iWenster on both of them. But I'll just finish by saying this. If this peace deal truly does hold up, but what comes out of it is a luxury tourist destination, and the people that were completely displaced from their homes are forced to relocate or to live under a welfare society continually controlled by someone else, that's not a win, man. That's not a win. That's a humanitarian tragedy. It's a human tragedy. We have to get back to humanity. I had somebody come up to me at a booth the other day because Maddie and I, now that things are really taking off online and things are going well for our business, like we use the opportunity on Saturdays to go to our local farmers market and just kind of like meet other business owners and meet people in the area and just kind of like let them know about our brand. Right now that we have the ability to kind of do that, it also gives us a way to kind of have a date and go get away from our kids for a few hours. We love our kids, but man, sometimes. But anyway, I was at the booth and I had this lady come up and she said, it was because of the recent shooting. And she came up and she said, we don't have a gun issue. We have a human issue. And we have an issue that humanity it's deteriorating, actual humanity. And aside from shootings and gun issues and everything else, like she's 100% right. The problem that we have in this world is not a gun problem. And it's not a this problem or that problem. It's a human problem. We have gotten to the point where humanity has been completely degraded to whatever it is, to whatever we see online, to whatever outrage someone wants to respond to, whatever rage bait is put in front of them, right? And instead of helping somebody in public that's being hurt or harassed, we pull out our phones and we video it. right? And instead of standing up for what's right and standing up for what's true, we stay silent and apathetic because we're afraid. We're afraid of the backlash that's going to come from other humans who just don't agree with us. Where someone gets murdered in cold blood simply because they said things that certain people don't like. We have a human issue, guys. We have a human problem. It's on us. And while it has been largely manufactured, I believe that to be true. We have not done a whole lot to not allow it to be manufactured, to not allow it to permeate our society, and to have us become victims of it. And this is why I'm constantly preaching the idea of unity. And it's no longer, I shouldn't even say it's no longer, it's never been about uniting one side or the other, unless you're speaking of good and evil. If you're talking about good and evil as far as the sides go, then it's all about uniting the good side and understanding that the good side, the qualification for being on the good side is that you still have some humanity left in you. That you don't celebrate the death of anybody, regardless of what they say and regardless of what you believe. That you choose to give more than you take and help others when you can. Okay? A lot of people look at me as some kind of isolationist. I'm not an isolationist. I absolutely believe that in order to receive, you have to give. And I think this is something that many people don't consider when you consider foreign policy. We absolutely need to be able to give to other countries, give to other nations, have good relationships in order to receive. It's a universal law. It is literally the law of the harvest. The more you give, the more you receive. However, you cannot give when you have nothing to give. You cannot pick somebody up off the ground with two broken arms. So, yeah, right now, I think we need a little isolationism. Right now, I think we need to take care of our own and get ourselves to a place where we can give freely. But once we can, we absolutely should. That's America first. That's true America first policy. And I believe that is also a qualification right now, especially in this country specifically, when we're talking about good versus evil, right? Who is putting this country first? Truly. Who is truly putting us, our people, first? And not selfishly putting somebody else in front of us. I don't know about you guys, but I'm sick and tired of feeling like I am paying for someone else across the world. I would gladly give the percentage of taxes that I do. Like every time I sit down and do my taxes, but by the way, I did it just a few days ago and I wanted to blow my brains out. Doing that, right? I'm doing it so begrudgingly because I know where it's going. Because I know it's not actually going to help our people, our country, right? I'm going to the places where there's hurricanes and freaking horrible disasters to help take care of people and help them as much as I possibly can. And where's the government? They're not there. My tax dollars aren't going there. My tax dollars are going to some country across the world to fight some war that I'm not a part of, to create some conflict that I want nothing to do with. And I'm sure all of you feel the same way. That's why I do it begrudgingly. But I'll tell you what, if I knew that my tax dollars were going to help our veterans, or we're going to help, our infrastructure, we're going to help our communities, we're going to build America, truly build America, I would be more than glad to give that money. I would be more than glad to pay my taxes and to do it in a spirit of knowing that I am giving to my fellow countrymen who need it. And I think that's the difference. I think that is where all of these people like me are just fed up. We're done. We're just done. We're done, man. We're done funding these endless wars. We're done lining the pockets of these politicians. We're done watching these elites walk around smiling ear to ear while they make more money that's even fathomable at this point. And we're done being under the constant thumb of a tyrannical surveillance elite group. And that's what people are waking up to. This conflict is no different. This conflict shows that the plans to build a luxury tourist destination that's powered by AI and smart cities over the bodies of hundreds of thousands of dead Palestinians proves that. It's not what it's about, man. I think all of you can agree with me. And, that's what makes you my people. And I'm grateful for you guys. I'm grateful for every single one of the people in this country that are standing up for what's right, that truly want to put us first, that truly want to take care of our own, that truly love their country and love their people, the patriots of this country, not the loyalists, the ones that would have chucked tea and snatched wigs, not bent the knee. We need more of you. We need more of us. I'm confident we can grow that, though. I'm confident we can build that. I got to go, but I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for joining me on here. I'm very grateful for the platform I've been given, and I try to do my best to, share truth and teach and do it from a genuine, authentic place. I hope you guys can feel that. What you see is what you get with me. That's my biggest goal. So once again, thank you so much for following me, guys. I really appreciate you. Reach out anytime. I try to respond to any messages. I try to actually communicate with you guys. I'm not just some figure that's going to post rage bait and let you guys go at it in the comments. I actually try to get to know every single one of you. So appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Have a great night, and make sure you subscribe and share the stream. Catch you later.